Don't Take It Personally. That is the new album from Niagara, an Italian pop duo that are pretty new on the scene. They've only released one album so far. That album that came out last year was called Otto, that's O-T-T-O, and I think I liked it. It was a fun exercise, I would say, of playing around with pop formulas. And in that album, basically these two guys would kind of start off in one genre, and they would kind of incorporate elements from other genres to really come up with something that sounded new and somewhat exciting. So you would have some songs that started off like trip-hop songs and would incorporate, elements of jazz or of rock or of electronica or, I don't know, folk music. And then sometimes you would have a song that started off as a folk song and would work its way into electronica or into ambience. It was pretty interesting. I liked it. I thought it was interesting. Now, to step back from that a little bit, I think that we are entering a movement in music culture right now that I usually think of as like post-everything. Genres are starting to matter less and less as the months and years go on. Now, I know that genres are not super popular. A lot of bands don't like genres because they feel like it's confining and maybe a little bit simple-minded, a little bit unidimensional. But I think that genres are good because they are ways that we can talk about things. And so they're kind of like a shorthand way to talk about a set of sounds. However, genres are kind of fusing together and mixing with one another, so they're starting to lose their meaning. That's perfectly okay. And I think that maybe this post-everything movement might be best exemplified by Niagara's new album, Don't Take It Personally. This is a record that I really struggled to kind of wrap my head around because of how abstract and how eclectic it all really is. Whereas their last album would pick out these musical tropes and then play with them, this new album really feels like they just have a melting pot where everything is just kind of this synthesized, very compressed, maybe a little bit overproduced, psychedelic, electric combination, so that a lot of the songs don't really resemble folk music or trip-hop or whatever it did on their first album. Instead, all of these songs they're all pop songs, I guess, ostensibly they are, but they sound sonically similar to Thumpers and Sharpless, but I feel like Niagara doesn't have the same catchy melodies that those groups do, which proves to be a problem because if you're writing a pop album, you really need some catchy melodies to draw in your listener, and I feel like Don't Take It Personally was really lacking in that area. However, there are a few moments of this album that I did really enjoy, one of these being the third track, Vanilla Coke, which I thought it was... The band dialed back their abstract tendencies on Vanilla Coke, and it allows them to really find a groove and move with it and really create something solid, whereas a lot of this album, they're just kind of wandering all over the place. Sometimes it does work out, like with Curry Box, which was kind of like the lead single off of this. Curry Box is pretty good and it's actually really interesting. They create a really melancholy mood, and it's pretty dark, and they're able to move in a few different directions that prove to be pretty interesting. However, I think 2 tracks out of 10 is not a super, good recommendation. There are some bright moments on this album littered throughout, but the band never really focuses long enough to make any of those moments really count or to really capitalize on them. So I think that overall, I'd probably give this thing maybe a 5 out of 10. It's pretty middling. It's not the worst thing you'll hear this year, but it doesn't really give you a whole lot of reasons to come back to it. Alright, so be sure to let me know what I got wrong about this album. Let me know what I got right about this album. If you want to suggest something for me to talk about in the future, you can recommend an album in the comments below. Otherwise, you can check out my writing and others at earbuddy.net. That's where we do a lot of our written reviews. And I think that is it. So, bye-bye.